They can destroy and leave no traces. Dreadnoks! Evil is written all over their faces. Dreadnoks! Horrifying new foe of G.I. Joe.
Hey, welcome to Half the Battle.
We're back to the comic with issue 35, Dreadnoks on the Loose. The cover, well, it certainly has Dreadnoks, on the loose, doesn't it? But hey, I've been burned by a cover promising biker mayhem before.
I'm gonna go ahead and look a little here to see if this is another one of those lying, cheating covers. Huh. Well, what do you know? For once, it actually does deliver what it says on the tin. Now that's rare.
Well, let's get started. The opening page has the Dreadnoks checking out Sartan's new toy, his motorcycle. And no, that wasn't a pun, since, as I've bitched about many times, the Cobra biker gang never got any real motorcycles in the toy line. This thing was invented specifically for the comic. Buzzer, who's the smartest Dreadnok,
Oh, come on, mate. Cobra Commander knows I can't read.
ignoring the cartoon, figures out the bike is a giant hologram projector and decides to take it out for a spin, even though the others object, since this will royally piss Sartan off. Meanwhile, Clutch, Breaker, and Rock'n'Roll have gotten some R&R and are on a road trip to California.
Gee, I wonder if they'll run into any trouble on the way.
The comic then briefly checks in on the Cobra leadership. Remember that whole Cobra Commander's son tried to assassinate him major plot point thing? Well, here's all we get on that for now. The commander isn't seeing anybody until a tribunal is held to get to the bottom of the conspiracy.
And that ain't for a couple more issues, so this is all we get.
Oh, except we also learn here that Sartan has figured out his henchmen have stolen his bike. Sometime later, sure enough, the Joes run into trouble. It's the old Jessica Fletcher cliché of the protagonist running into their plot wherever they decide to go.
Oh, coincidence! The greatest ally of any writer!
Yeah, a Ripper, true to his name, rips open the side of their car, not because he knows they're Joes, but because he doesn't like Chevys. I don't blame him. The Noks continue to cause mayhem, but notice the Joes are in hot pursuit. They make a U-turn in a tunnel and hologram up the freaking truck of death. Now, that looks awesome! The Joes are surprised by the thing that looks like what would happen if Optimus Prime became the Ghost Rider and try to dodge it, crashing into the side of the tunnel.
You know, Buzzer is pretty lucky that they did manage to dodge him.
Considering it's still just a hologram, and the car would have turned him into a red smear on the road. Rock'n'Roll does manage to get the license plate of the truck, and that's the first time who got the license plate of that truck isn't actually a joke. The comic jumps back a few miles down the road, where we see an old lady getting on a strange-looking bus. One that has a similar license plate to the truck. Yeah, it's not really subtle, is it?
All this will be very important later.
Conveniently, in between pages, the Joes have been rescued out of their car wreck, but they're a bit befuddled, and don't quite know what they've seen. Meanwhile, the Dreadnoks have found themselves at another Air Force base. And that seems to be all they've done in the comic so far, attack Air Force bases. Hell, they even lampshade this in the comic. They disguise the bike as a staff car, leading to this exchange from the guards. Should I challenge and ask for orders and passes? Not on your life.
Yes! Yes, you should!
Anything that got 2 stars hanging on it can go anywhere it darn well pleases.
Oh, really? Well, excuse me, I'm off to the White House. My court hearing is in 2 weeks.
With them getting past the extremely, stringent security, the Noks are gonna have some fun. By the way, this is something you don't see in children's comics anymore. People smoking. But hey, at least it was evil people smoking. Meanwhile, the Joes are being taken to the hospital and realize they all saw the same ghost truck, so it couldn't have been a dream. By the way, they are in like the roomiest ambulance I've ever seen. 3 beds? Yeah, ambulances aren't that big. But hey, for plot convenience, apparently it's a freaking TARDIS. The Dreadnoks are doing their thing, destroying planes, until Torch gets his flamethrower too close to a fuel line, and the inevitable happens. And almost the exact same thing happened the last time they did this. You'd think they'd learn. They tried to get the hell out of Dodge by turning into a security detail, and almost get away. But they have the misfortune of going past the Joseph's ambulance. An ambulance that apparently has no wall between the patient's cabin and the driver's section.
This never ever happens! The cabin is a separate entity to help protect the crew!
It's to avoid exactly the kind of thing that happens here. Rock and Roll recognizes the license plate of the Jeep, so he shoves the driver out of the way and commandeers the ambulance. By the way, the license plate thing is pretty stupid. If you've got the technology to completely change a vehicle's appearance, why the hell would you keep the license plate the same? There's no reason for it outside of plot convenience. The Joes catch up to the trio and throw an oxygen canister at the Jeep bike thing, causing it to crash and, of course, explode, with Buzzer in the middle of it. The 2 other Dreadnoks get away when the bus that was trailing them turns out to be a freaking cargo helicopter piloted by Zartan using holographic technology.
Bullcrap! I'll have notes, but I'll finish the recap first.
The Joes capture Buzzer, who looks surprisingly uninjured despite having just freaking exploded, while Zartan and the other 2 fly back to Springfield, aka Cobra headquarters. They go to dispose of the granny that got on the bus, but she's mysteriously disappeared, leading Zartan to suspect it was a ninja master. And that was Dreadnoks on the Loose.
It was a fun read, but if I had to describe it in one word, that word would be hubris.
First, there's the hubris of the Dreadnoks stealing the bike and setting this whole thing off. But since the Dreadnoks are pretty stupid, with the exception of Buzzer...
Oh, come on, mate. Cobra Commander knows I can't read.
Shut up. I could forgive that, I suppose, if it wasn't for the fact that this whole trip was Buzzer's idea.
Then there's Zartan's hubris.
First off, it's his technology, so it's his fault the license plate stayed the same. I mean, the whole point of a disguise is so that nothing can identify you for what you really are. Then there's him taking a freaking passenger on board. Why would you ever open the door for a granny in that situation? And why didn't he put an out of service sign up to avoid people trying to get on the damn bus?
Oh yeah, the bus. I believe I had notes.
Look, I can buy using holograms to make a bike look like a truck or a Jeep. That's fine. And you can even have sound systems to make the thing sound like a big rig. But you can't use holograms to make something smaller. That helicopter is bigger than the bus, so it would be crashing into things. Or things would be crashing into it on the frickin' highway. To say nothing of the noise the thing would be making. And, the most damning thing of all, the air displacement caused by the blades would blow people off the frickin' sidewalk.
Look, this represents my suspension of disbelief. Yeah, that's out the window. Actually, I'm gonna need that back. I'm watching Doctor Who later.
Overall, the issue suffers from the repetitiveness of the Dreadnoks' actions, another airbase attack that goes wrong, I mean, come on, and the brain-breaking implausibility of the freaking helicopter. It's stupid, but hey, at least it's a fun kind of stupid.
See you next time, everybody.
They can destroy and leave no traces. Dreadnoks! Evil is written all over their faces. Dreadnoks! Horrifying new foe of G.I. Joe. Searchlights! G.I. Joe! American hero! Hiding